Division 1 varsity fours due to begin in just about a minute or less at this point. Division 1 varsity fours A final. Boats on the course already poised to begin are in lane 1, SMU, lane 2, Iowa, lane 3, UCF, lane 4, Dartmouth, lane 5, UNC, and in lane 6, Miami.
Yep, so this is one of 3 of our identical fields that we're going to have in our A finals coming up for the rest of the program. So these are the 6 teams that have gotten all 3 of their NCAA events into the A finals, and so have the best chance of winning the Benderson Cup.
The best chance at the best points, apparently.
Correct. Our current points leader due to the winning their B final and having only 1 event scored so far are the
heels. Nice start.
We will see that change after this race, and we have maximum points awarded for the women's 4 as we're underway now. Nice even start, but it looks like your crews on the right side of your picture are getting the best of it.
Is this the
crews from UNC and Miami? I think, Lindsay, what we can expect to see here is we're going to see anyone that's got a fast start, they're going to have to employ it because they're going to know that they're going to have some tough work on their hands against these crews from UCF and Dartmouth.
Yeah, you know, with what we saw yesterday, just about every crew out on the field had a tight race all the way down the course. So UNC and Miami had tight races, you know, we had SMU and Dartmouth having tight races, but UCF was the one lone crew that didn't have a ton of tight racing yesterday. So they are the kind of, not wild card per se, because we have seen trends in speed out of them, but now I want to see what their next gear looks like through the full piece, especially when under pressure. Perhaps they had those gears because they weren't under the same amount of pressure. It allows you to relax a little bit differently. So now let's see what they can do when there's pressure being poured on. Carolina right now in lane 5 is pouring on the most pressure. They have a slight advantage over Miami. Both of those crews had to race tight with one another yesterday. Really interesting to watch the races unfold for them. And again, to see more crews showing full races is just showing the caliber of racing overall improving in the women's Division 1 NCAA in particular, which is a fantastic trend that you would want to see. More and better rowing.
Well, UNC's got a captain up in the bow, Sydney Tuck, leading that crew. No doubt she's going to be encouraging everybody just to get as much as they can into the front half of this race, because UCF has already checked that momentum that UNC has tried to throw at them with that really fast start. UNC continuing to move away from Miami a little bit here, but you can see UCF has absolutely neutralized them. Along with Dartmouth, these 2 center lane crews are going to just continue to start to creep on UNC. Miami's going to have to pick up the pace a little bit if they want to stay in the conversation, because over on the other side, Iowa doing a good job to stay in the conversation as well. SMU, same thing as Miami, I think, just starting to drop off the field a little bit. We're seeing that chevron start to appear.
You know, based on everything coming out yesterday, you have 3 crews that were
heels.
at 7:30 in this event, and those 3 crews are UCF, Dartmouth, and UNC. If UNC can put together a really solid middle, which we're already seeing UCF starting to turn on their mid portion of the race, where now they've snuck past Dartmouth here by just a little tiny bit, you can look for them to continue to develop their race as every stroke that they take. And what North Carolina UNC is going to want to do is exactly that same thing, is stay confident no matter who's on the move and put together the best 200 plus strokes that you can. This is going to be a longer race than yesterday, simply from the conditions. And in this boat, it's a Coxed 4. It is a much longer, slower race than what the 8s would see. So crews that can stay clean to maximize each stroke, crews that can stay a little more stable in their core, not doing too much forward and backward here, because if you get over with your body angle forward even more into a headwind, that's just more of you to have to move back into that headwind. You know, Megan, I know that you've mentioned kind of, we had a little bit of discussions with the difference between headwind, tailwind racing, power, size of athletes, stroke type, you know, things that are going to give you advantages.
Come on, heels!
Absolutely. I mean, the headwind was never a favorite of mine because I'm not a bigger athlete. I'm a smaller athlete.
Come on, heels!
Headwind was not a day that I look forward to. Despite being strong and fit enough to do the long racing, that was never the issue. It was just mostly the hard work of the boat feeling heavier, moving slower, having to do that big lift every time you put the blade back in the water, and the boat has slowed down exponentially more than you're used to it slowing down. I think I'm a big fan of this race. I'm really excited to see that UNC is continuing to hold or even push UCF more than we've seen so far. Dartmouth absolutely right there.
Come on,
as well.
Heels!
This is really interesting too. I'm noticing that we have basically a repeat of our grand final from last year, with just SMU being the outlier. We saw Miami in the B final earlier. They were knocked out of this grand final despite being a podium crew last year. I think this is going to be really interesting to see everybody back in action. UCF.
Come on, Heels!
They've executed their move. This is the one disadvantage of having that 1,000-meter camera for this specific program, is that we're going to miss them launching that attack almost every single time we go to that shot. But look at Dartmouth now on the move against this crew from UNC as well.
Come on, Heels!
We got to talk to the producers so we don't miss that next time.
Well, you could see UCF mount their move before the 1,000, right? So we caught that, and then it was just, all right, let's align with what's going on here, and let's make it a mystery, Megan. Let's make it a mystery.
Let's not make it a mystery. I think I'm getting...
But you can see them starting to move on Dartmouth, but also Dartmouth now starting to, bring it up a little bit here. I think there's some fatigue happening on the poise of UNC. They got out. They were probably jazzed about what was going on, but dig in there because they're doing really good work there out of that crew from UNC. And so staying on par with UCF and Dartmouth
Come on,
is a
Heels!
big show, especially because those two crews did have good showings at the Women's NCAA Championships last year. So again, great information to have side-by-side efforts on crews like this for late season and postseason work, especially if they can gather some information that will help them get faster, educate themselves to get better over the next couple of months.
Well, let's not, write off UNC at this stage in the race. Dartmouth, we know that they've struggled a little bit in that last 250 meters. So if UNC can just be patient and just hold on to Dartmouth here, I think the bronze medal is still absolutely within reach. But you know who might have something to say about that is the University of Iowa. They are just patiently waiting on the other side of the course, as we've been talking about our three lead crews here, and just seeing if they can't work with this Miami crew to get themselves back up into the front of the pack. SMU, I think they may have a little bit too much to overcome here if they want to get back into the podium discussion, because I do think these lead three crews have done a lot of work on this Mustang boat. I think it's going to be too much to get back up there. But Iowa and Miami, if they want to work together and push each other back up towards UNC, I think there's still some time that's an option, but they're going to run out of water quickly. They got to make that decision soon.
Yeah,
come on,
each
Heels!
of these lead crews, they're approaching 250 meters to go at this point. You see the beach on the right. They're already in 500 to go. They're already counting down strokes there. UCF is maybe going to gain even a little more composure now at this point because they're now, this late in the race, now in the position that they're used to being in earlier on based on what we saw yesterday. So that might allow them to have a little bit more breathing room to take a bigger breath to allow them to relax even more at this stage of racing. For everyone else, if UNC can rev it up a little bit quicker over Dartmouth, we've seen Dartmouth lull a little bit in their sprinting, but will they have a quicker sprint now that they're having some pressure being put on them by the other crews that are around them? UCF clearly out in front right now, getting a little more comfortable with their spacing. So it is going to be up to, let's say, UNC to make sure that they take that next level.
Come on, ladies!
Iowa kind of at bay behind them, and that's going to encourage Dartmouth to maybe sprint a little bit more than what we've seen out of them so far.
I think you're right. As Dartmouth is coming on screen now and they've just gone off picture, it looks like the intensity has ratcheted up a notch. We're going to look at our race leaders right now as they are driving toward the line. They've done a really great job in this varsity.
Come on, get that bronze!
Kesha Brunette, Olivia Warner, Sophia Keller, and Amber Tulloch, with your driver Vianna Smith in the coxswain seat, on their way to secure a third gold medal of the day for UCF, continuing that move towards another sweep in 2026. Dartmouth just losing open water now to UCF, but breaking away from UNC for that silver medal to repeat from last year as well. And UNC with
Nice
a bronze
job,
medal
ladies.
finish in this women's varsity 4. An awfully tight margin between Iowa and Miami, a very, very fast-starting crew in this Miami boat, but unfortunately did not pay off in this final today. And on the far side, SMU found the pace a little bit hot through the body of the race, but rounding out that A final for us in this women's varsity 4. Great racing.
That's where you see a slightly longer race because of the headwind conditions. And every time I say longer, the distance is the same. The time is just a little bit slower, the same as if you're running into a headwind versus running into a tailwind. About 20 seconds almost longer of a race than yesterday, so that allowed the crews to kind of separate out a little bit farther. Just over open water for UCF, taking the win here in the Women's Division I Varsity 4s. That was the A final, most points toward the Benderson Cup available in this particular event. As we accumulate toward bigger events, more and more points to be awarded. Top 3, UCF, Dartmouth, and UNC.